We're ready for the holidays? Ready to stop working? Listen, I always tell my team, I run an IT company downtown, and I always tell my team, especially my sales guys, because a lot of times sales guys like to chill out on Friday, don't you? Like, be honest, we do. We want to quit, like, after lunch. When you leave here, you're going home, right? Or to the bar. But the grind includes Friday, y'all, okay? The grind includes Friday, TGIF, so remember that. But I just want to take a few minutes to share something with you that I think is really helpful for me and is helpful for my team, and I think that it's going to encourage you as well. So by the time you leave here, I want you guys to have a PhD. Is that cool? Does anybody have a PhD for real? Almost. Almost? Good for you. Anybody got a master's degree? Where are my super smart people? Yeah, there you go. Who has a bachelor's? Community college? No, never mind. So, side note, well, never mind. Let me stay on subject. So, a PhD is really something like if somebody says they have a PhD, we think what? They're super what? Smart, right? And disciplined, right? Dedicated. I mean, you got to commit time. You put in the time and energy to write your dissertation, and you have a level of expertise. Well, as a sales professional, as an entrepreneur, a business owner, we really want to have that level of expertise, not only for ourselves, but for our clients and our vendors or our partners too. So to me, PhD is really an acronym, y'all, and the P stands for psychology. All right? So now what is psychology? Y'all tell me what psychology is.
The study of the human brain.
Wow. Study of the human brain. Behavior, right? So I like to call it like it's the study of the mind. It's how we think, right? So I like to refer to it also as mindset. And don't you know that people who are high achievers, right? We may work in an office. I was just talking to this young lady about, some heavy hitters in her office, right? But we may have some people who are really just crushing it in our office or in our industry, and we look at them and we admire them, right? Because they're making a ton of money. They have a big impact, big influence. But guess what? They have a psychology that's most likely different than the average person in our industry. Wouldn't you agree to that?
Amen.
So somebody that's making $1 million a year doing the same work that you're doing, and you're only making $100,000, I guarantee you guys have different mindsets, right? So the objective really is to develop a high achiever's psychology. I like to call it also a success consciousness. So that's super important. And the reason that's important is because the foundation of your psychology is really your belief system. Okay? So when I first started my company, I started about 5 years ago, and I wanted to make a ton of money. Like that, at the end of the day, not only did I want to make a lot of money, I needed a lot of money. Okay? I needed some money. I was hungry. Okay? Literally. All right? So I had some motivation. But quite frankly, being broke is a great motivator. Right? Has anybody ever been broke before? A lot of times when you need money and you're struggling, you get out there and hustle. But I went and I looked after, I sought out people who were doing well in my industry. And I said, listen, not only I want you to tell me what you're doing on a daily basis, what's your daily activity, how are you getting these results, but how do you think about this particular business or this industry? How do you respond when a customer says this? When you're trying to close deals, or how do you think about these opportunities? Because I wanted to get into their mindset and understand their psychology. So the best way to do that, I think, is to find a mentor, to read books, or to go to YouTube and listen to folks, who are doing great in our industry. Okay. So again, the P stands for what, y'all?
Psychology.
Psychology. So always work on your mindset. Always work on your mindset. Now, the H stands for hustle. The H stands for hustle. So any of these high achievers that you look at and we admire, I guarantee you they have an incredible work ethic. Would you guys agree to that? So your work ethic, I think you should be known for your work ethic. Okay? And I'll tell you a quick story. Before I started my company, I used to work at a company you guys may have heard of called Comcast. Anybody ever heard of Comcast? So I worked for Comcast Business, and I would actually go into the office. And when I first started there, I said, listen, I want to do well here. I want to make a lot of money. They showed me the commission, schedule and how much money you could make, and they got me all excited. and I said, listen, I want to find out who's making the most money in this office, right? So it was a guy, and his name is Jeremy, right? So I used to look at Jeremy from afar for the first few weeks. And there's one thing I noticed about Jeremy. Jeremy took 20 smoke breaks a day. The other thing I noticed was that he was working, okay? So you know how you go into an office and you're supposed to be there at 8? Well, guess what? Jeremy would get there about 7:30, right? And at 8 o'clock, he was on the phone. Most people would come in at 7:59, 8:05, and what's the first thing you do? Take a guess.
Coffee.
Go get coffee. They're hanging out by the cooler. They talking about the game last night, and they don't start working till like 8:30, right? The other thing that I really noticed about Jeremy too is on Friday, this guy was working up until 5 o'clock. Up until 5 o'clock. On the phone, following up, setting appointments, sending out proposals. His he didn't do anything spectacular. He wasn't great on the phone, but his work ethic was incredible, okay? So I noticed that about him. So when I started my company, I said, listen, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of resources. I don't have a lot of contacts, but what I do know how to do is work hard, right? So I joke with people sometimes. I tell them I worked 8 to faint, okay? 9 days a week, 30 hours a day. I was willing to put in the work because I knew that if I put in the work, the results will come. Does that make sense? And a lot of times we make excuses. We hear this simple concept, right, about working hard, and we make excuse after excuse after excuse because we think, well, I got this going on, I got that going on. But work ethic, y'all, is key, and it's not just about being busy, right? It's about productivity. Does that make sense? So you don't want to just be busy. Listen, I need to organize my email, or I need to organize my desk. Yeah. You got to do that, but do that on a time where it's more conducive and where you can be spending more time with customers makes sense. Because we can get so busy and distracted that we're not being productive. So in my company, I tell my sales guys, being productive means you're talking to customers or you're talking to customer getters. That's or referral partners, right? So if you're not sitting in front of or talking to a potential customer or sitting in front of or talking to a potential referral partner, then you're not working. Now, do you have to drive to appointments? Yes. Do you have to prepare paperwork? Yes. Do you have to make copies and get organized and all this? Yes. But you structure your time to the point where you say, hey, listen, I'm going to be productive at least 4 hours a day. Now, most of us, let's be honest, if we looked at our day today, for example, we probably only work about 2 hours every day. Like actually reaching out to customers, potential customers, actually reaching out to referral partners. But if you increase that to 3, 4, 5 hours, your productivity will go up too, all right? So again, y'all, hustle. The H stands for what? Hustle, all right? So we got psychology, we got hustle, and then the D stands for, what do y'all think the D stands for? Discipline. That's right. That's right. You've heard this before, right? Discipline. So discipline pays dividends, okay? So my team, they get tired of me saying that at our company, but discipline pays dividends. And this kind of goes with hustle. I talked about not allowing distractions to get you off, all right? But when I first started my company, it was just me, like in my home office, making call after call after call. And I told my girlfriend at the time, she's now my wife, but I told her, I said, listen, between the hours of 8:30 and 10:30, I'm just making calls. I'm making calls, I'm following up, I'm doing, so don't reach out to me, don't call me, don't text me unless it's an emergency. So one day I'm just making call after call after call, and I'm trying to set appointments, and then she calls me. And I look at the phone, I'm like, I let it go to voicemail. A couple of seconds later, she calls me right back. I'm thinking, oh man, should I answer it? I don't answer it, right? It goes to voicemail again. She calls me right back. So what am I thinking, y'all? It's an emergency. I pick up the phone. I say, hey, babe, what's going on? She said, oh, I just want to make sure you have a good day. I'm like, you're tripping. However, that was how disciplined I wanted to be. In my mind, if the Queen of England called me, I'm like, yo, take a message. I'm trying to knock out some calls, okay? Because I noticed when I actually had a job, when I worked at Comcast, the smallest thing would distract my colleagues, you know, a text message, a dog walking across the street, the fire alarm, I mean, whatever, any little thing, because when we're making calls, when we're actually trying to do something that helps us grow, sometimes it's uncomfortable, right? So we allow the smallest distraction to get us off track. And I heard somebody say one time, when you get off track, when you're focused on a task and you get off track, it really takes you about 12 minutes to get back in the same momentum that you had, all right? So if we consistently are getting on track, we have to get back in the same vein of momentum, and how much time are we wasting, okay? So what I'm really saying is people who are successful, people who are high achievers, they are efficient, they are disciplined, okay? So again, y'all, the D stands for what? Discipline. So that's my argument, and that's my message for you guys this afternoon. P stands for psychology, H hustle, D discipline. And if you just take your level of expertise and your mindset where you are now and just step it up one level, I guarantee you'll see some extra results. Not only this month, but in 2019. So that's my time. I appreciate it.